FOG number 150 is Danny Nutley. Danny was born in Brisbane and played his junior football with the Redcliffe Dolphins. In 1996, Danny was named the Dolphins Queensland Cup Player of the Year. In 97, he started his NRL journey with the South Queensland Crushers. Danny played 152 games in the NRL with the Crushers, the Sydney Roosters and Cronulla, the club he was at when he made his Origin debut in Game 3 of the 2005 series in the front row alongside fellow Redcliffe junior Petro Civoniceva. Danny also had two successful stints in England with Warrington and Castleford and was named in the Super League Dream Team in 2006. Well, Danny Nutley, thanks so much for your time. What does it mean to you to be a FOG?
It's a strange thing. It's like as a kid, as a Queensland kid growing up and sitting in the lounge room and watching, Lewis, Meninga, Miles, all them guys play, and as a kid you just want to put that jersey on. I feel very grateful to be a part of a list of all them names over there. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Well, let's take us back to the start of life for Danny Nutley. Where did it all begin, and tell us about growing up?
Grew up on the north side of Brisbane. Mum and Dad had got 30 acres near Lakeside Raceway there, and we grew up working horses every morning. It was the whole family had to contribute. There wasn't. Dad got up at 3:30 in the morning. Everyone else got up at 3:30 in the morning. You just had to work the horses. The horses were more important than going to school. So we would have to make sure we got the horses done before we went to school, and then Mum would throw us all in this big old Valiant wagon, and she'd run us to the bus, and 9 times out of 10 we'd miss the bus, so she'd have to drive all the way into Redcliffe to drop us off at school at De La Salle. I don't regret anything in my childhood, but Mum and Dad there was 7 of us in the house, and I do not know to this day how they afforded to feed us all, but we never wanted for anything. We always had whatever we wanted, It was just an amazing to be a part of that and to grow up in that.
How do you reckon that influenced your later career, that work ethic and having to do what you had to do before you were allowed to do something else?
Massively. In my whole life. That's all I've had to learn the hard way because, I think it was just that great base we had that I could build on that through my life, through my footy career especially, because I was always told I wasn't big enough. I remember being out at a camp out at Gatton with the Queensland Junior Development Squad, and there was a few ex-players there, and they just said to me, "You're too small. You need to get bigger if you're going to be in the NRL or the ARL as it was back then." And I went, "Yeah, no worries," But that sort of spurred me on too, I just wanted to prove people wrong then as well.
Well, you're never a big front row forward. We'll get to that a little bit later. Where did you first start playing and how did you become involved? Was it something you always wanted to just play footy with the brothers and then, develop into playing junior league?
It was, I just wanted to hang around my mates. That's all it was. I had some mates at Redcliffe, and we all played together right from under 13s right through to first grade at Redcliffe. We all played together the whole way through. And I just loved hanging around my mates, Clinton O'Brien, who's a FOG as well. He was a very good mate of mine growing up, still a very good mate of mine now. We used to hang out together all the time, and that's all I wanted to do was go and play footy with my mates.
When did it get serious then, other than wanting to play with your mates?
The only time it really got serious was, I still remember to this day, I was standing on the veranda of Mum and Dad's bakery in Dayborough, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just went, stuff this, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just going to give footy one last go, and this was in 95. We got beaten in the finals with Redcliffe, and I'm just going to give it one more go, and that was the 96 season, and that sort of kicked my career off after that. We won Player of the Year then I went to the Crushers, and I had sort of a mixed year at the Crushers. I got suspended a couple of times, and I played reserve grade, played a few first grade games, and then after that was when I went to Warrington. Do you want to talk about that now? Or do you want
No, we'll get to that because I want to go back to that Redcliffe time, and you mentioned, and with the Dolphins in the competition now, people tend to forget that the Crushers came into the competition in 1995, and a lot of the people that have been involved with the FOGS, particularly Dick Tosser-Turner, and people who have been very close to you throughout your career, were involved at Redcliffe and the Crushers. How important was that time for you?
It was very important. Very important, you know. Darryl Vanderveld was probably one of the best influences on my career. The guy, he just taught me a lot of stuff away from the football that was so important to me for later in life as well, you know, setting me up just financially, the whole lot, you know. But that connection, like Chicken Bleakley as well. Chicken was my Colts coach at Redcliffe as well, and he was my coach at the Crushers, and he seen what I did in '96 and that year at Redcliffe, and he asked me to have that opportunity to go across and play for the Crushers, and I just didn't want to let Chicken down. The sort of people from Redcliffe, you just don't want to let anyone down, and I've always been like that. I just never wanted to let anyone down, you know, when I was playing football.
Well, the Crushers in '97, I think you played 10 games in that year. Remember the side that played the last game for the Crushers in the competition. I've spoken to a couple of former Crushers that talk about that time. There were highs and there were plenty of lows in that Crushers period. But do you think it was a wrong place at the wrong time for South Queensland? And you look at the Dolphins' success now and think, geez, that could have been us.
Yeah, I think business-wise, it was a lot different, you know. Where Redcliffe, I remember playing at Redcliffe, and they always wanted, that was one of their goals. I remember Desi, even like back in the day before the poker machines come in, I remember Desi, because we used to get paid a little bit to play different games and all that sort of stuff, and he come and seen us that night and got the whole club together and said, listen, boys, we mightn't be able to pay you this year, but we got these things called poker machines coming in. We're just going to see how they go. Well, a bloke I played with, and he's my brother-in-law, Russell Laff. He was one of the ones that helped set them all up in that. And he said they had 6, then they had 12, then they had 18, and it just turned around from there. And I knew back then they had plans to get into the ARL. Then it's changed to the NRL, and I'm so glad they have. It's just such a good story.
It is. And unfortunately, 97 was the end of the story for the Crushers.
Yeah.
You ended up, and you alluded to it before, heading over to England to play with Warrington.
Yeah.
How'd you end up over there?
We had Mad Monday that went into Tuesday, and then I had to work back then, but otherwise I had no money. So after the Monday, I had no money. So Tuesday, I'm in the bakery. And my sister grabs me and she goes, there's some bloke on the phone from England. He wants to know if you want to go and play footy in England. I went, oh, yeah. And it was Brow. He said, oh, listen, will you come over and play? And I said, yep, bloody oath. And the reason I said that is because I remember talking to Terry Webb and Chicken Bleakley and all them guys, and they all went over there and played in England, and all they had these amazing stories, and I always wanted to go over there and play, and I went, yeah, bloody oath, I'm just going to go over there and have a go, you know. And typical Brow style, it was like I signed on the Tuesday that afternoon, and then I was on the plane on Friday morning going over there, and I still remember getting off the plane and sitting in my house in Warrington and just looking out the window, and it was freezing cold, and I was just going, what the hell have I done, you know? Yeah.
Do you reckon if you hadn't gone to Warrington and then been noticed, say, by the Cronulla Sharks, if you hadn't made that decision, you may not have played Origin?
That's exactly right. And how I got to the Cronulla Sharks was through Tuera Nikiao. We were having a beer after the season, and he goes, "Listen, I can get you back to the NRL if you want to. You know, Chris Anderson's going to Cronulla next year, and he'll have a look at you, eh?" And I went, "Oh, mate, if you could, yeah, that'd be great," because I was going to sign for Warrington again. Anyway, it just happened like that. It happened really quickly. Opes rang me, and then, yeah, we were going back to Cronulla. And I said to Rachel, I said, "I've just signed a contract with Cronulla." And she goes, "Oh, God, what are you like?" So, yeah, packed the kids up and back to Cronulla. Yeah, it was great, but it's just, my whole career was like that, you know. It wasn't
moments.
It wasn't planning. It was just like, yep, let's do that.
And it was a pretty good time at Cronulla.
Yeah, it was unreal. The first year was really, really good. Like we started the year and we won, I think it was like the first 5 games or the first 4 games, and then we lost like 12 or 11 in a row, and then we went all on this winning streak right through to the Premier League final and got beat by Melbourne. Was it Melbourne? No, got beat by the Warriors. Sorry, and yeah, it was an amazing year. We learned a lot from that year, and then we had
some fair players too.
Oh, unreal players. Yeah. On both teams. Like in the Warriors team, they had just Campo, Ivan Cleary, you know, they had some awesome players, you know.
So that stint at Cronulla for that 4 years, nearly 100 games in that first stint, but one game really stands out in 2005, no doubt, is when you made your Origin debut in Game 3. Yep. Take us through the mindset. Was it ever on your radar that you could become an Origin player?
Oh yeah. It was always in the back of my mind, but I was sort of at that age where I just thought, it's probably they'd rather pick a younger forward than me, you know. And I remember we played North Queensland the week before that, and Charlie Webb come up to me and said, "Good luck, mate. I think you'll get picked," you know. And I said, "Oh no, man, I reckon you'll get picked, eh?" So, and yeah, I come back. I still remember being at training, and our footy manager, Greg Pearce, come out and grabbed us and goes, "Hey, listen, there's someone's on the phone." I said, "Oh, yeah." And it was Mark Coyne. And I went, "Oh, how cool is this?" Yeah, Coyne rang up to congratulate me, and then he just said to me, I'll never forget it, he just said to me, "Whatever you do, just take your time. The week will go fast, but the game will go even faster." He said, "Just take your time and relax and enjoy the week." And I really did. I did take note of that, and I did. And I had the best. It was the best week, eh? It was the best 10 days ever. And yeah, and he was absolutely right about the game. It was like, I still remember running out behind us and just the noise. I can still hear the noise. And then it was like the game was over, and it was just like, shit, you know. Yeah, but it was so good to be with Petro too, like, because like we both obviously grew up playing for Redcliffe, and we both in the junior development squads at the Broncos and at Redcliffe as well. And I still remember, because I'm an emotional wreck when it comes to stuff like that, and I cried my eyes out when the national anthem was playing. The big fella just grabbed me and cuddled me. It was just little things like that I'll never forget. Yeah.
I asked this question of a number of folks about that realisation of getting the opportunity to represent Queensland and pull on that Queensland jersey. Was there a mixture of excitement but also questioning whether or not you were up to playing for Queensland? Did you ever doubt whether or not you would let the team down?
Not one bit. That's one thing. When I ran out, when I put that jersey on, actually, it was like, I do not want to let anyone down. And I did that with every single game I played. The people that were paying me, the club that gave me the opportunities to play for them and that, I just never wanted to ever let them down. And yeah, putting that Queensland jersey on, it goes tenfold. Yeah, so, and I never doubted myself one bit.
So what are the memories of the game? I know you said it went really quick and it was over. What sticks in your mind about the game itself?
This, when I go, a story, I ran the ball up off the tap and it ran straight at Craig Fitzgibbon, and he tried to put a shot on me and he snapped his finger on me and he never let it down when I was at the Roosters. You did this to my finger. Yeah, so, but little things like that. But the actual game itself, I still remember little parts of it, and it was just like it just happened so fast, and I wish I could remember more. That I remember Joey just. We were down on this end, the northern end, and I remember him looking at me and putting me out, and I just charged out of the line and smashed him, and I just didn't want him to come at me. So yeah, just little things like that. Yeah, but I don't remember the game much at all. Yeah.
As your mate Scott Sattler says, you're in elite company in the Arthur Beetson Club, having played one game like the great man himself for Queensland.
Yeah.
Satisfied with that, or at times do you think, 2 would have been nice, or 3? How do you look back on that?
I'm just very grateful that I got the opportunity to put that jersey on. Just, there was different, things that I wanted to do that next year, and would I have got picked? Maybe. I probably wouldn't have got picked as well, so... I don't regret it one bit, but I'm very, very grateful that I got the opportunity to put that jersey on.
Well, you got an opportunity to go back to England as well to play with Castleford. How did that come about?
Well, that sort of come about pretty quickly.
Again?
Yeah. My manager at the time, Wayne Beavis, rang me and said, listen, they're looking for someone over in Castleford, a good front rower. Would you be interested? And I went, yeah. And it was pretty good money. And I went, yeah, well... let's just set ourselves up and then we'll be sweet. And then, went over there, had a really good year. I really enjoyed it. And it was funny because the Castleford itself, the club, they're very, very organised. And Rach and I the culture side of the club, we took on ourselves. And we had parties at our house and after the games, and if any of the boys wanted to come around and just talk about the game and that, we'd just sit around and talk and just mull things out and just tried to set the culture for the team. And that was a good thing. And we had some really good young kids playing, and they were just all over the place at that point in time. But I really enjoyed my time there. I had a good year myself playing.
We're named in the Dream Team, Super League Dream Team. What does that mean to you?
That was unreal. If you look at that team and the players that are in that team, that was unreal. Yeah, to get selected, and I won 2 awards for the Super League that year. Most tackles and most yards. That was pretty cool too. Yeah.
The career back home wasn't over, because 1 year at Castleford and then you're back to play with the Sydney Roosters in a final year with Cronulla. Yeah. Describe those last couple of years.
It was strange. Hey, the Roosters was good. I really enjoyed that year I had at the Roosters, but then the following year I did the pre-season. There was a couple of games that had gone past, and then Freddie brought me in and said, "Oh, listen, we're not going to pick you." And I said, "It's all right, mate." He said, "I'm at the end of my career anyway, so just pick the young blokes. I'm sweet with it." And then Sticky found out that I was going to be put down, and then they needed a front rower for the rest of the season. And I went, yeah, well, I'll go over there, no worries at all. And it ended up being one of the best years, the most enjoyable years of my footy career was my last year. Yeah. So I've gone from, and it was so ironic, hey, I left the Roosters on the Tuesday, and that Saturday night we were playing the Roosters at Shark Park. Ended up beating, and my eldest son is a mad Roosters supporter and cried his eyes out because Cronulla beat them that night. Yeah.
Oh, great stuff. Now, we alluded to it earlier. You were told at Gatton that you weren't big enough to play at the elite level. And in some respects, that's true because you're not the world's biggest front rower. How did you cope with being on the smallish side, it's fair to say, height-wise in particular, in such a demanding position?
Well, yeah. I didn't see it like that, you know. It's just the other guys were big, but the bigger they are, the harder they fall too, you know. I remember playing the Melbourne Storm and some of the front rowers they had, and they were actually the biggest pack that I've ever played against was the Warriors. And I remember playing a game over in Perth. It was Cronulla against the Warriors over there, and Ruben Wiki and all the boys. And I was sore for 2 weeks after that game. And I remember Brett Kamali saying to me about halfway through the game, he goes, "Run at Ruben Wiki's right shoulder, I just want to get on the outside." And I turned around and just told him to politely go and get, you know what, you run at his right shoulder, you know. So, yeah. But, yeah, size-wise, it never bothered me one bit. I never thought of it like that at all, you know.
Looking back on the career, the players you played with, and we'll include the Origin game, is there someone that stands out as you look back and say, wow, I'm glad I played with him? Alf was unreal, you know. Like when the couple of games I played with him over in England, it was, I learnt so much of it, and like go from a larrikin and then he walks across that line and he's such a competitor and just such a professional, you know. And it was both. There was the larrikin or the professional. There was no in between, you know. I thought that was really interesting, you know. And it, you know, them couple of years we played together, we had so much fun. It was just unreal, you know. But if you go like skill-wise, players with skill, David Peachey. David Peachey was the most skillful player I've ever seen. You know, ridiculous how good he was under a high ball. And I still remember, like in 2002, like me and Steve-O were the front rowers, and like we had Colin Best, Paul Mellor and David Peachey were our back three. And 80% of the time we wouldn't even have to really turn around and run backwards because they were that good at getting the ball back, and that's why we were so successful that year too. They'd get the ball back to us most times, you know, so we'd literally have to turn around, walk back about 3 or 4 steps and turn around, and then we'd be going again, you know. But yeah, Peach, players like that, you're in awe of, you know, when you're playing with them. And how's life after football treated you?
Life after football's been good to me, mate, yeah. I made a wrong decision when I first got out of footy to go into business with someone that, you know, I lost a little bit of money over, but I didn't lose my house or anything like that. But mining, I've been in mining for 15 years, since 2010, and yeah, it's been really good to me, you know. My interview when I first went out there, my father-in-law was one of the trainers out at Rollston with Xstrata, and he goes, "Oh, listen, they're looking for blokes out there. Do you want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll go out." Walked in, and the interview consisted of, "What's Jonathan Thurston like as a bloke?" "And you're going to drive a truck for 2 years." And I went, "Yeah, sweet." And that guy, who was like this CFO of Yancoal till a couple of years ago, he's still a good mate of mine today, and yeah, real good fella. And he taught me a lot of stuff.
Well, you mentioned earlier about the influence that Darryl Vandervelde had not only on your career but your life in general. Yeah. There are other people that you look back and played a pivotal role in your development, not only as a player but as a person?
As a person, Ricky Stewart. Ricky Stewart was great for me. And he said it as well. I wish we would have spent more time together through my career. Like just that short, like 12 months with him, wasn't even 12 months. At the end of my career, I learned a lot off him. Chris Anderson, great person, Chris and Lynn, we're still really good friends of our family today. I learnt a lot of hopes too, as well as how you hold yourself on a footy field and how you hold yourself off the football field as well. They were really great people. But just, I think, going back to my childhood, my mum and dad, you got to work hard, Life's not easy, it's hard, And if you're willing to work hard, you're going to have a lot more good days than bad days.
Well, what do you reckon that kid that would get up at 3:30 at Dayborough to look after the horses and then jump in the car to try and get to school on time would have thought if someone pulled him aside and said, Danny, in years to come, you're going to be the Redcliffe Player of the Year. You're going to play over 150 NRL games. You're going to play for Queensland in Origin. You're going to go to England. You're going to be named the Super League Dream Team. And you're going to have a wonderful career. What do you reckon that kid looking after the horses would have thought?
You're dreaming. But, back then, I would have been just thought, nah, no way I'll do that. But, someone tells you can't do something, I'll try and prove them wrong every time.
Well, FOG number 150, Danny Nutley, congratulations on a wonderful career and thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, mate. Awesome.
Thanks for watching this episode of the FOGS Queenslander Podcast. If there's a FOG you want to hear from, leave a comment to let us know. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos.